Alcatraz prison terrified the hardest criminals. Strong bars, armed guards, high fences with barbed wire, all this on an island surrounded by icy water. It was believed that it was impossible to escape from there, but the three prisoners came up with a cunning plan and found a way to freedom. The fugitives were never caught. Whether they survived or not, remains the greatest mystery of the 20th century. A daring escape from America's safest prison will tell you right now. The history of Alcatraz Island is inextricably linked with the city of San Francisco, where a gold deposit was discovered in the middle of the 19th century. This led to the so-called California Gold Rush. The Bay of San Francisco has become one of the largest ports in the world, and the city itself began to grow rapidly. On the island of Alcatraz, a lighthouse was erected for navigation of ships, and after a couple of years a defensive fort with cannons appeared there to protect against potential enemies. At the beginning of the 20th century, a military prison was built on the island, and soon the authorities realized that this was a very convenient place for keeping prisoners. The level of crime increased dramatically at that time. America needed a symbol of vengeance, terrifying to any criminal. This symbol was Alcatraz, specially converted into a federal prison in accordance with all the latest security standards. Their steel grates, tear gas cans on the dining room ceiling, 600 solitary cells, watchtowers, tall barbed wire fences, one guard for 3 prisoners, and the most important obstacle, the icy waters of the San Francisco Bay, with sharks and strong currents. The people called Alcatraz the Rock and the prison of prisons. There were sent especially dangerous criminals who violated the rules of conduct in other prisons, and those who tried to escape. The world-famous mafioso Al Capone served his term here. Everyone who entered Alcatraz lost his name and acquired a serial number. According to official figures, in the 29 years of the prison's existence, there were 14 attempts to escape, and they all ended in failure. However, the mysterious fate of Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers cast doubt on this claim. 3 fugitives found Alcatraz's weak points and went into the unknown under the cover of night. Who are these people, and how did they manage to do the virtually impossible? Frank Lee Morris is considered to be the organizer of the escape. He had a difficult childhood. At the age of 11, left without parents, the boy wandered around orphanages and foster families. From the age of 13, he began to commit crimes and often ended up behind bars, from where he constantly escaped. Before Alcatraz, 33-year-old Morris had 11 shoots. His criminal background includes theft, armed robbery, theft and drug possession. He was distinguished by high intelligence, at an IQ 133 level. Arriving on the island, he met brothers John and Clarence Anglin, who were serving sentences for robbing a bank and escaping from another prison. The fourth conspirator was the carjacker Alan West, who also got into Alcatraz for an unsuccessful escape. The prisoners found that over the years the concrete walls buildings had become fragile from constant moisture and salty sea air. The cells had ventilation grills measuring 10 by 20 centimeters. With the help of tablespoons and a homemade drill powered by a vacuum cleaner, each one ripped open the wall around the grate so that they could crawl through. They worked when music was playing in the block. Maurice had a cell next door to West. The brothers Anglin also had adjacent cells. While one was digging, the other was watching the guard, then they changed. The holes were masked with a painted cardboard plug, indistinguishable from the wall. Through the holes made, the prisoners entered the corridor and climbed the pipes to the attic, where they set up a mini workshop for themselves. For 6 months preparing the escape, they collected almost 50 rubberized raincoats, from which they sewed life jackets and built a raft 2 by 4 meters. The instructions were found in Popular Mechanics magazine. Wooden oars were also made. The accordion became a pump for inflating the raft. Made from wire, plaster, glue and paint dummies of their heads. Hair for the dummies was taken from the hairdresser. At the same time, a way out of the building was found, an old ventilation pipe leading to the roof, which was not filled with concrete like the others. On the night of June 11, 1962, after an evening check at 9:30 p.m., Frank Morris, John and Clarence Anglin put their fake heads under the covers and left their cells. The fourth conspirator Alan West could not get into the hole he had made in the wall, so the plan was carried out without him. The fugitives came out to the roof of the building through a hole ventilation, descended to the ground through the chimney, bakery, overcame the barbed wire fence and ended up near the water in a place hidden from observation. Inflating a makeshift raft, they set off towards freedom. The disappearance of the prisoners was found only the next morning, during the rise. The night guards were not suspicious. A clever trick with fake heads in the beds bought about 8 hours of time before the alarm was sounded. FBI agents, police officers, military and Coast Guard carefully examined the whole island, let the dogs follow the trail, but to no avail. The picture came together when they calculated the fourth conspirator, Allen West. He spoke about the preparation of the escape and further plans. Prisoners, together they wanted to sail first on Angle Island, then to the mainland, then it was supposed to steal a car and rob a clothing store, after which they parted ways. However, for the next 2 weeks, the police did not. There have been no reports of hijackings or robberies, so the FBI said. Soon, investigators found in different parts of the Bay San Francisco several important clues: homemade paddle, rubberized bag with photos and notes, one of the Anglin brothers, deflated life jacket, with traces of teeth on the valve, apparently the clamp was missing air, shreds of raincoat material that are considered the remains of a raft. After years of investigations, the FBI report said the escape attempt had failed, and its members were likely to have died. The logic was this: being free without money, the criminals would sooner or later commit something illegal, thereby giving themselves away to the police, but this did not happen. On the other hand, there are over 100 circumstantial evidence that the fugitives survived. When the FBI closed the case and turned over all the materials U.S. Marshal Service, they found official documents, which said that the raft was nevertheless discovered on Angle Island, with footprints extending into the interior of the island. Perhaps this is a mistake, because the raft was not listed among the evidence found. There were also records of car theft, blue Chevrolet just after the escape. Another important piece of evidence is a photograph given to the Anglin family by a family friend. According to him, he saw brothers in Brazil and communicated with them. The picture was taken 13 years after the escape. The facial recognition program, with a 99.7% probability, installed John and Clarence in the photo. Forensic experts also confirm the high probability of a coincidence. In 2013, the FBI received a letter allegedly from John Anglin, in which he reported that on the night of the escape, all three had managed to reach the coast and survive. The author writes, "I am 83 years old and I feel bad. I have cancer. Yes, we did it that night, but with great difficulty. If you announce on television that you promise to send me to jail for no more than a year, and you provide me with medical assistance, I will disclose my whereabouts. It is not joke. Best regards, John Anglin." Law enforcement agencies doubted the authorship of the letter. By the time the text was published, 5 years had passed, and no one got in touch. Attempts have been made repeatedly to recreate the escape. In particular, in the program Mythbusters, leading on a makeshift raft sailed from the island to the mainland and came to the conclusion that this is quite real. Only the authors of the experiment considered that the fugitives not headed for Angle Island, as the police had suggested, but downstream, towards San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. Be that as it may, a year after the escape, Alcatraz was closed. It was too expensive for the American authorities to keep the prisoners on the island. Food and drinking water had to be delivered there by ferries. In addition, the old building required money for repairs. Prolonged exposure to humid, salty air weakened the strength of the concrete walls. And the reputation of the most reliable prison was undermined. By their act, Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers had great influence on the reflection of Alcatraz in culture. Their escape formed the basis of many documentary and fiction films, books, computer games. Many years later, the island received the status of National Historical Monument. The prison buildings have turned into a museum, which is visited by more than 1.5 million people every year. Today, Alcatraz attracts with its historical past. Many are interested to see in what conditions the most dangerous criminals were kept, as well as where the most famous escape in the world began. That's all. Share the video with your friends. Like and subscribe to the Mood Flow channel. See you soon.